Well, hello, wrestling fans and fans across the world that may be tuning in. This is Sal Rough Cuts. Yes, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. So I'm going to be doing some topics on this video that are going to cover a variety of areas, including professional wrestling and what's going on with professional wrestling, my thoughts about it, the French Open that just recently concluded, and the Knicks, who is going to be their next head coach, and a whole lot more. So I'm going to do this a couple of moments of each topic, and then want your thoughts and feedback for this edition of Rough Cuts. And so we're just going to get right to it. So, well, again, it's been a while since Rough Cuts has been active, and want to let you know that I'm posting this Rough Cuts for all the wrestling fans that have been emailing me throughout the world and wanted to have Rough Cuts back. So please be advised, my opinions only. They're not affiliated with anybody at all whatsoever. So let's get right to it. Let's go right off the top of the bat. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Richard Wagner of PR Recruiting. Richard has been asking me to do Rough Cuts for a while, and he sent me a PayPal for $25 today, June 10th, I think it is. Was today June 10th? Yeah, June 10th. He had sent me a $25 PayPal and said, on behalf of myself, Victor Albano, and the group, we want you to do a Rough Cuts. Can you do a Rough Cuts for us? And I got the PayPal, and as promised, I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to do Rough Cuts. So a big shout out to Richard Wagner. Sent me a $25 PayPal to put Rough Cuts on the air June 10, 2025 from PR Recruiting. Thank you, Rich. This Rough Cut is dedicated to you for believing in Rough Cuts and sending me that PayPal to help me and my family in time of need. So I appreciate it, and this Rough Cuts is for you. So let's get right to it. I have been homeless for 18 months. I was evicted 18 months ago. I have been homeless since January of 2024. It is now June 2025. I'm doing this Rough Cuts in a motel thanks to my church. They had put us up for a couple of days to get out of this Florida heat. And so I'm very forever grateful for that, for my local church and the motel for getting Buddy and I out of this heat. They do it once in a while. I've been in and out of this place for a while, and I'm very happy and grateful that they had actually been able to do this for me and wanted to give Buddy and I a chance to avoid the heat. So thank you very much to the motel and my church for being able to help us get us out. So that's why I'm able to do this Rough Cuts for all of you. So I'm just walking, getting a little exercise in the room, staying cool, since the temperature today, June 10th, is going to be, I think, close to 102 with the heat index. So that's not very good. So that's what's going on. They cut my food stamps down to $63 a month, and I'm on a fixed income for SSI. It's not much. I still have my car, and I'm still living in it. So when I'm not in the motel, I'm parked in it. Between my car payment, my insurance, my phone, Buddy's food, pretty much wipes me out for the month. So it's not much. The state of Florida says I could work. There's a fixed income set amount, but there hasn't been anything available to be able to where I can't take the dog with me to a job if offered, and with my disabilities, it's really bad. So it makes things kind of tough. But I've been looking for like remote stuff and things to do, but there's just nothing that has panned out, and very disappointed. And because there's you can only go so far on a little bit per month, so it doesn't help with the car, the insurance, dog food, medications, and everything else. There's nothing left at the end of the day. I have to budget for gas and food for both of us, and $63 a month on food stamps isn't good. So very sad indeed. But I'm still here and still alive, so I do want to thank out the support for everybody that has been giving Rough Cuts, and hopefully things will get better. That's all we can hope for. Can't ask for any more than that. So that's what's going on with me. I've been homeless all this time, trying to survive, and thankfully I'm in a room, and we're just still trying to survive this this ordeal. We got 3 more months or so with this heat, and it's only going to get hotter, but hopefully it won't be as bad going forward. So, all right, with that being said, let's get on to what Rough Cuts is all about, talking about wrestling and topics and things like that. Let's turn my attention for a minute to the Knicks real quick. The Knicks were ousted in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals, and subsequently they fired Tom Thibodeau. And there's been a lot of rumblings what's going on, who pulled the plug. My thoughts is this. I think this came from James Dolan. I think James Dolan had a coach in mind, and I think him and Leon, they came together and said, we're gonna pull the plug. Look, Mike Malone and a lot of these coaches, they got fired, for making the playoffs and not winning titles, or being an NBA head coach these days seems like to be a joke. Your job is not safe. I mean, this isn't the days of Greg Popovich where you had job security, or Steve Kerr has, job security in Golden State, or Pat Riley is giving Eric Spoelstra, job security. But most of these franchises, they just, going to pull the gun. I mean, Tibbs got fired. He brought the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years, and you lose your job. I mean, you could say he was out-coached and the bench and all that, but the coach took you to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time in 25 years, and you fired a coach. What's it going to take? So you have to win the championship in order to keep your job. The New York job, it's New York. It's an attractive job. The Knicks haven't won the title since, 72, 73 or something, 74, whatever it's been. So, but this was the first Eastern Conference Finals trip in 25 years, and you fire your coach. So, it's one of those tough situations. But, a lot of rumblings about Mike Malone, the former Denver Nuggets coach who turned around and brought Denver a championship. But, he only took one championship he brought in. He brought one title in. He's had Nikola for all this time. I mean, and they fired their coach, and they fired Malone 3 days before, 3 games to go in the regular season. And, they say he lost the locker room or what have you. Are the Knicks really targeting him? The Knicks may be looking now at Jason Kidd. Dallas has the number 1 pick and the number 1, draft pick, and the kid out of Duke or something. Does Jason Kidd want the job? What about Mark Jackson? There's been a lot of rumblings about Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson is a cut above Tom Tibbs. Thibodeau. If you're hiring Jackson, you're basically hiring another, coach like Tibbs, a very strong disciplinarian, no-nonsense kind of guy, will probably rub your players the wrong way a bit, but he's going to get the most of what he had. The Knicks don't have a bench. That's the whole problem with it. The Knicks don't have a bench. They don't have a solid bench. And that's going to add to it. They don't have a deep enough bench. So you've got to run your starters out there. You don't have a solid bench. Don't tell me the Knicks have a solid bench. They don't. They don't have the bench to be able to compete with the top teams. They beat a depleted Boston team without Tatum. They beat a less than 100% team. I'm not taking anything away against what Indiana has done, because Indiana basically showed that they can kick butt no matter what. They were built for the playoffs. They were built to make this run. But the Knicks, if you look at it overall, to get to where they got to with Thibs is a major accomplishment. They didn't beat the Celtics in the regular season. They did not beat the Cavaliers in the regular season. They did not beat Oklahoma. They did not beat the top teams, and yet they still made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and the playoffs. Don't tell me the regular season don't mean nothing. It meant something because the Knicks beat the teams that they had to beat, but they got lucky in the playoffs. They beat a depleted Boston Celtics team without Tatum. Tatum got hurt. That's it. The series with the Pacers was lost in Game 1. The series with the Pacers was lost in Game 1 when they blew a 17-point lead and then a 9-point lead with a couple of minutes left to go in the game. They blew Game 1. And by blowing Game 1 with that lead, they lost the series, and Thibodeau subsequently lost his job. You're going to tell me Mark Jackson's going to be a better fit? Mike Malone's going to be a better fit? We're going to find out. My answer is I don't think it's going to make much of a difference unless Dolan and Leon add a player. They're not going to get Giannis. Don't even start me on that. They're not getting Giannis, all right? There is nothing that the Knicks can offer that's going to make them a title contender with to getting Giannis. Giannis could opt out of his contract, yes. He can opt out. He's got a year left. Milwaukee, he may not re-sign with Milwaukee. Milwaukee may have to do what they can to try to get valuable assets for him because he may believe they can't contend. But at the end of the day, is Jason Kidd going to be any better than Tom Thibodeau, Mark Jackson, or Mike Malone going to be any better? My answer is no. My answer is no. I don't think the Knicks are going to be any better than what they were this year. I think what we're going to see is regression. Unless they can add a deeper bench and get somebody. And don't talk to me about Kevin Durant because Kevin Durant is not going to make the Knicks better. Kevin Durant has been a cancer wherever he's been. He couldn't win in Brooklyn. He couldn't win in Phoenix. Don't get me started. And Golden State, he had Curry. He had one of the greatest NBA players of all time in Curry. So don't start me on that. So that's not going to happen. So that's my take is I don't believe that the Knicks are going to be any better with Mark Jackson, Mike Malone at the helm, or Jason Kidd. You're going to have to add a superstar, and the Knicks, I don't believe, can add enough that's going to get them back to the finals. Boston's going to reload. Cleveland's going to be back. Indiana's not going anywhere. Detroit is on the rise. Detroit Pistons are on the rise. They approved it. So right there are a couple teams. Indiana's going to prove this season was no fluke, and it wasn't. They're going to be there. So you got teams right there that the Knicks are not going to be able to get past. I don't think the Knicks will get back to the Eastern Conference Finals next year. I think what will happen is they'll make it, but they're going to stumble. They're not going to be any better. So, all right, let's move on. The Dallas Stars fired their coach, Peter DeBoer, and basically what this was all about is he threw his goaltender under a bus. You made how many X amount of Western Conference Finals and couldn't get to the Stanley Cup Finals? The guy will be a head coach again. Don't get me wrong. All right, he's going to be another head coach. He's going to be a head coach again in this league. All the spots are filled, but believe me, the way the NHL has become, they become like the NBA nowadays. They'll fire a coach will get fired mid-season, or two coaches, and he'll be back. Dallas had a nice run. I predicted them. I thought they were going to be, playing Florida for the Cup. It didn't turn out that way. But, Edmonton was just proving to be a better team in the West, and they got the hot hand and the momentum, although they lost it a little bit last night, trailing 2-1 as of this post. But he'll be back. So, and with that being said, he will be back. So that's my take on that real quick. As far as what I think about the finals right now, it's 2-1 Florida right now as of this post. Edmonton's not going anywhere. I still think it's going to go 6, maybe 7 games. It can go either way. There's always going to be a bad game by each team in the finals. Florida had theirs in Edmonton. Edmonton had theirs now in Florida. Now we'll basically see, if Edmonton can tie it up 2-2 going back home, it may be tough for Florida. I think this in all reality is going to be Game 7 for. Game 4 coming up for Edmonton is really their Game 7. I don't think they can afford to go down 3-1 and mount the comeback like they did last year to try to make it a 7-game series. I just don't. I think Skinner's going to be better. He had an off night. It happens. That's the grind of the Stanley Cup Finals. It's a lot of games. It's going to happen. So this is the toughest trophy to win in all of professional sports, no doubt. It is the most difficult, and you can see, this is it. These guys are running on fumes. I think Edmonton will even up the series. They'll go home. They'll take it back to 3-2. I think they can win the 3-2, but I think this series is undoubtedly probably going to go 7 games. That's if Edmonton can win the next game, which I think they will. People ask about the NBA Finals. I haven't really been watching too much, but since the Knicks got kind of bummed me out. But I do think. Oklahoma's not running away with it. Indiana's been coming. Indiana's was built for the playoffs. Everyone said this will be a shock. No, it's not a shock if Indiana wins this title. They beat the top teams in the East, and they are giving Oklahoma a run for the money. And I think that Indiana, is far from dead in this series. And anybody that tells you otherwise is not really paying attention to what they're doing. Yes, Oklahoma has the better talent. on paper, but paper don't win championships. You got to go out there and play basketball. And Indiana comes back down 20 points back, and they're still kicking butt. They're coming back down 20-plus points a game. You just cannot put them away. You've got to stay out there, and you've got to play 48 minutes to beat this team. And they've proven it all playoffs long. Look what they did to Cleveland. Look what they did to the Knicks. Oklahoma's going to have to put the pedal down, and they're going to have to, put that 20-point lead, 25-point lead on the board, and they're going to have to keep it there until about the final minute of the game. I mean, literally. Because you have to play 48 minutes, and if you don't, and you ease up a little bit, you can get on a run and get, 10 points, 12 points in less than a minute, and that's what's been happening. Indiana's just been coming back. Its series is far from over. So I'm going to turn my attention to the French Open. I did get a chance to watch Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, arguably one of the greatest men's finals in French Open history. Carlos came back down 2 sets to love. And 1 in 5. I mean, this kid is. I mean, these Spaniards are built for clay. I'm not taking anything away from Sinner, but these Spaniards are built for clay. And nearly a 6-hour match. It was 5 hours and 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I mean, you saw an exhibition of tennis right there, an exhibition of what tennis is about on clay, at the very least on clay. Now, getting onto the grass and hard courts is something else. But Carlos. I got an email the other day. Do you think Carlos will get to 14 French Opens the way, Nadal did? I don't think Carlos will get to 14. I think Carlos can get to 10. I think Carlos can get to 10, but he's not going to get to 14. He can get to 10. So, but I mean, Nadal is obviously the greatest clay court player of all time, and obviously the greatest French Open champion of all time. You know what it takes to win 14 French Opens on a clay? I mean, you can't even fathom. I mean, put that in perspective of what Nadal had done on a very difficult surface. I mean, the physical wear and tear in your body to play on a clay court like that, and to do it in Roland Garros. I mean, that's just absolutely impressive. I mean, and Nadal got the plaque, and he deserves it. They should rename, the center court after him because he deserves it. No one's going to catch 14. Carlos, I think, will get to 10. But it was obviously, if you did not see it, arguably one of the greatest clay court matches. It has to be the greatest clay court match. I don't say the greatest tennis match overall between Wimbledon and Australia and the U.S. Open, but the greatest clay court match we just saw was right there. And an unbelievable display of sportsmanship by both players. And Carlos, what can you say about this kid? This kid is really the life and the future, along with Sinner. I mean, they've been battling a bunch of times. We've got a rivalry on our hands. And we're going to enjoy the next generation between these two guys battling it out, and Roland Garros and slams left and right, and and other ATP Type Tour events. We're going to see some really amazing tennis for many, many, many years to come between these two guys, because they're still very young. They got youth on their side. And Carlos, it'll be debatable when it's all said and done with, will Carlos or Yannick be better? Who will be better? It doesn't really matter right now. Let's just sit down and enjoy the ride. I know we were spoiled with the big three, with Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal, and throw in Andy Murray. And I throw in Stan the Man. I like to throw Stan the Man there in the conversation because he had a battle against the big four. No, we probably would never see a greater 4 or 5-some again like that. But in today's men's world, look, we got Sinner, we got Alcaraz, we got Zverev, although, debatable with him. We've got, Tara Fritz is not really living it up to the hype on the American side. Maybe we'll see what happens in Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. But it's really just these two right now. And I think they've just separated themselves from the rest of the pack, and rightfully so. And we'll be looking forward to seeing these two continue to battle it out. Djokovic, stated in his press conference this could be his last French Open. Look, the man is 38 years old, and he's arguably like the third best player in the world. But he's out there to win Grand Slams. And I'll say it. I think if he doesn't win Wimbledon, which is going to be his best shot, I think then this will be the end of it for Djokovic after the U.S. Open. I think Djokovic will retire. I don't see him going back to Australia next year. I think Wimbledon will be his best shot to add one more Grand Slam, and if not, then I think that's it. I don't think he's beating Sinner or Alcaraz in Flushing in August, so that ain't going to happen at all. And I do think that this will be the end. I think Djokovic is coming to the end. Is he the greatest of all time? He's got the most titles, but you can make a case for Federer. You can make a case for Nadal with the French Open. I mean, 14 French Opens. Between those three, Andy Murray and Stan, now you can't put that in the conversation, the big three, but, they were good supporting counterparts, really, but they deserve to be mentioned in a sense. But as far as the greatest of the three, it just really depends on the surface. Federer is the best grass court player that I've seen. It's a toss-up on hard courts between Federer and Djokovic, but Nadal is obviously the best when it came to clay. And they each had a very unique style and had their own surface of what they felt like they could accomplish. But is Djokovic the greatest ever? No, I don't think Djokovic is the greatest. I think he's one of the greats, all-time greats, but you have to put Federer and Nadal. And overall in history, Sampras, Agassi, Lendl, McEnroe, Connors, Becker, Edberg, Wielander. There are just so many great men tennis players. And you can't just say Djokovic is the greatest because he's got the most Grand Slams. I don't look at that. I look at the overall picture, and there are just so many great male tennis players that have come along for the ride at different points in different generations, and it's a different time frame now. Did Djokovic play in a tougher generation? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Djokovic played in a tougher, quartet. Because I go back to Agassi and Sampras during those days, and Jim Courier. Then you had McEnroe, Connors, Lendl, Borg, Becker, those guys. I mean, you had 4 or 5 guys, 70s, 80s, 90s. You had 4 or 5 guys that were there. But at the end of the day, yes, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, yeah, they've won a lot of the Grand Slams. But there were so many guys during different generations. To say one is the greatest, no, I don't think so. I think they're all great and unique in their own individual way. So that's where I think. I think Djokovic, if he doesn't win Wimbledon, he will not win the U.S. Open. He will retire at the end of this year, and I think that's pretty much what it's going to be. He can't beat Sinner or Alcaraz on clay. That's just a foregone conclusion. So let me move on because we want to get to some other stuff. Coco Gauff won the French Open women, and Ariana Sabalenka went basically on one of her tantrum tirades. Look, she was complaining about, Christy Every had a point here. They're both playing in the same weather conditions, and you're telling me being number 1 and number 2, you're going to complain about the wind. How about just tipping your hat and saying, hey, look, you know what? I got beat by the better player today. Ariana doesn't really give her players credit. I mean, it's just one of the things I just cannot really like about her and Iga. Got that sourpuss when they lose. But when they win, they're, I know I'm the great. Come on. Take a lesson from Carlos Alcaraz and Roger Federer and Nadal on what class is all about, Ariana. Honestly, take a lesson in class because you didn't have any. You did not show graciousness in defeat. You basically showed that you're just a poor sportsmanship. You didn't show proper sportsmanship. Coco won it for the Americans. She won the title. She had to battle the same adversity, the same weather conditions you did. You just got beat by a better player. Why don't you just tip your hat and say, I was beat by the better lady today, but I'll prepare and I'll be ready for Wimbledon. No, but she's got to blame this, blame that. But stop passing blame. You got beat. That's all the bottom line is. You got beat. You know why? Because Rough Cut said so. You know it. You just can't take ownership and responsibility for what happened. That's all there is to it. I don't think she's going to win Wimbledon. Honestly, I will say this. I don't think she's going to win Wimbledon, Ariana. I think Iga may bounce back a little bit, but I think what we're going to have is we're going to have a sleeper in Wimbledon. I think Wimbledon's going to be too wild. Ariana will not bounce back and win Wimbledon. I don't think Iga's going to win Wimbledon. I don't think Coco will win Wimbledon either. I really don't. I think we're going to have a surprise. We're going to have a surprise. We're going to have a couple of surprises. Someone we don't expect to make the final. Who? I don't know. I mean, I just think it's too wide open. There's so many young kids are coming up and rising in rankings. It could be anybody. Somebody unexpected is going to make a run at Wimbledon. I don't think Ariana, Iga, or Coco are going to be there in the end of Wimbledon at the end of June. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. The grass is a little too wide open on the women's side. I don't think there's a true dominant force out there. We're going to see some surprises. So I'm looking forward to the grass court season. I got it on Pluto TV. I can watch it. They have added the tennis channel, so I'll be following along as we make our way to Wimbledon. Let me turn my attention. I know we got to get to wrestling. Mary Lou Retton was arrested. Mary Lou Retton was arrested for DUI. All right. I've been getting a lot of emails about this before I turn my attention to wrestling here. Mary Lou Retton got arrested for DUI. Yeah, the family started to GoFundMe while she was in the hospital, and I had a real problem with it. And now she was arrested for DUI. She had an open bottle of container of wine. Look, for whatever the case may be, you know the rules. I am an advocate, and I mean this very sincerely. Do not drink and drive. If you drink and drive, you deserve every bit of punishment you get. I am 55 years old, and I have never had a drink in my life. I've never had a drink in my life. I have no desire. I would never, ever would have get in the car with someone that has drink. I have never had. I will tell you for a fact, when I was growing up with my friends, I would call family, I would call somebody. I would never get in the car with someone that has been in the bar and had drinking, because I may not make it home. I don't care if you got home 99 times, it's the 100th time you get into an accident. Or I was always the designated driver. I don't feel sorry for her at all. Look, she was at one point an Olympic hero. Yes. She's no longer an Olympic hero. She's in her 50s, almost 60 years old. Times have changed. She's divorced. She had health problems. She signed up for they did a GoFundMe. You know, my problem with that was, you have a GoFundMe, yet you had a house, you had assets, you had money, and you needed a GoFundMe. You should have thought of this beforehand, knowing that you needed to prepare yourself for life's challenges, like I did. Okay? But you have millions of dollars in assets and things that you could have been able to do, but you didn't. And then, to make matters worse, what you done is you got in a car and you drank and drove and you got pulled over. You didn't make a mistake. This was not the first time that she did it. This is the time that she got caught doing it. Don't tell me, oh, I never drank and drove. Nonsense. It's the first time you got caught drinking and driving. And we really need to hammer down the penalties for DUIs. We really need to hammer down on this. Our government has not done enough to curb DUIs. How many DUIs does it take to basically, say enough's enough? There are so many people, celebrities and statues, that get 4, 5, 6 times until they kill someone where the judge has no point to put the book at them. Absolutely horrific. You need to hammer this down. You DUI, you get caught DUIing, and you did not get into an accident, and you need to lose your license for 6 months. First offense. If you got into an accident and you hurt somebody, or you hurt somebody, your license needs to be revoked. I'm sorry. It needs to be revoked. Maybe 3 years or 5 years, it needs to be revoked, and then it needs to be reviewed, like you go up for parole. If you kill someone, you drink and drove and you kill someone, you need to go to jail and you need to have your license revoked. That person that you hit and killed didn't get to continue, so why should you have to have your license? You need to be punished. We don't have enough tough laws on DUI. We had all these campaigns I was growing up, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which was mad, and all this other stuff. I don't see things any different now than it was 40 years ago when I started driving. We don't have enough tough laws to stop the madness, because people are still getting behind the wheel driving drunk. You don't drink and drive. That becomes a weapon. That becomes I'm sorry. Saying you're sorry, if you were sorry, you wouldn't have gotten the car. You're sorry, you got caught. You got caught drinking and driving. That's what you're sorry about. That's the only reason why you're sorry, is that you got caught drinking and driving. That's all that matters. When you got caught, it's not the first time, and it wouldn't be the last time, only until you get caught. So that's my thoughts on what the Mary Lou Retton situation is that Mary Lou Retton got caught. It's not the first time that she has done this, but she got caught this time. We need to toughen the laws. We really do. And until we do, we've got to let the punishment fit the crime. I always said, too, growing up, if a man gets caught to commit a crime with a gun in hand, it should be 10 years in the can. That's the way it should be with DUI. But unfortunately, we don't enforce the laws. We've got to have all the crocodile. You knew not to drink and drive. and now she's going to get a slap on the wrist because she didn't hurt nobody. Take her license away. Make the punishment fit the crime. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. Let's turn our attention 30 minutes in. Richard Wagner, thank you. How you like the rough cut so far? Give me a like out there. If you guys help me, I can help you because, I'm in a bind too, but I don't want to get into any further right now. But I promised that I would do some wrestling stuff. So let's get into the wrestling world right now. But you help me, I help you. All right. So I hope you're enjoying this edition of Rough Cuts on various topics. Let's get to the world of professional wrestling. What do you say? There's a lot with the AEW, TNA. How about Vince McMahon? Let's talk about, is Vince McMahon going to come back in some capacity? I've been reading rumbling that maybe he might try to be buying his way back in. Now Bradshaw basically turned against him. I don't think that we're going to see Vince back regardless of the outcome of what had happened in the case. I don't think we'll see Vince back at all. If anything, we may see Shane involved in some way, but I don't think we'll see Vince per se involved. Look, Vince is nearly 80 years old. The damage is done. Even if convicted, he's not going to jail. The money could be replaced. I mean, this should have happened 20, 25 years ago when Vince was still in his prime and you were able to hurt him. And it just happened 25 years too late. That's all I have to say about it. I don't think anything further is going to happen with Vince. No matter what, he will not end up going to jail, end up paying restitution. But that's going to be about it with this whole case. And it's just a travesty. And it should have been, like I said, 25 years ago. If anything, we may see Shane back in the twofold. And maybe at some point he may even buy TNA. I would guess, but I don't. It's kind of a tough call. I just don't think that it's... I think that we're just going to be seeing the end of the McMahon era altogether at some point. You could say never, but look, TKO and The Rock and them, Triple H and Stephanie, they're all just going to be pretty much be phasing out soon. It's just coming to the end of the line. No matter what, they've got enough money they can walk away. We might see their children involved in the business in some capacity because of the namesake, but as far as running company, Vince did this to hurt his children. Vince should have turned the WWE permanently over to Stephanie and Shane to run the company. I mean, what kind of a father is that? You sold out. The kids could have bought the company from you the way you bought it from your father, and Vince elected not to. He got the money. He sold out. He sold out to Saudi Arabia. He sold out to TKO and The Rock. And now they're doing what they want. Look, the biggest travesty right now with all this is, number one, you basically ruined your kids. Yeah, they got money, but that's not the point. The point is that when you think of the WWE, you think of the McMahon family. You don't think of TKO or The Rock. You think of the McMahons. All the way back to Vince Sr. when it was the WWF days. Now it's just an entity. And what really bothers me about this entity with The Rock and all them involved is they hurt the people of Louisiana. How in the world do you pull WrestleMania from Louisiana to go to Vegas when this is all about corporate greed and all about money? I remember WrestleMania was about the people. It was about the Super Bowl of wrestling to entertain us, to entertain people that wanted to see their heroes or their villain. They wanted to be entertained. And I can honestly say, when was the last time I was honestly entertained by a professional wrestling event? I haven't. Honestly, truly, I have not been entertained. This whole thing is just a joke. What they did, if I'm the people of Louisiana for what has happened, I would never, ever buy another piece of WWE merchandise. I would never buy another pay-per-view. I would never go to another event. If I'm the entire state, if I was governor of Louisiana, I would say, please, don't ever support the WWE. Do not have anything to do with it. You know what? And I would make a phone call to Tony Khan, and I would turn around and I would tell, hey, Tony Khan, bring AEW down. We got the dome available. Do you want to put on a wrestling event? We'll be more than happy to have you. But I would cut all ties with the WWE, and there's no apology. They're going back to Vegas because there's money to be made in Vegas. This is all about corporate greed. Corporate greed. Billionaires and millionaires making millions on top of millions. They don't care about us. Look at the prices of the tickets I was looking at in Vegas. It's all about revenue. WrestleMania was at one point in arenas, Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden, they held in arenas, 25, 30,000. And from WrestleMania 1 now, 40 years later, it's grown to stadiums. But in Vegas? Why? Because that's where the money is? Do you understand that WrestleMania week generates millions and millions of dollars for the city? Millions. For jobs, merchandise, the revenue for the city. You know what that can do for Louisiana? What you did by pulling out? You're hurting the working class people. That's what you did. And I cannot support WrestleMania. I cannot support it going back to Vegas. It should be rotated every year. Corporate greed. And I cannot support it. And I don't support it at all. And if I'm Louisiana folks, I'd be like, hey, look, enough's enough. We do not support WWE anymore. You heard us, our state. I would pull all merchandise. I would not sell any merchandise. I wouldn't even show. Well, you can't take away right to show because that takes away freedom of speech. But I would not be offering or selling merchandise in any stores. And I would not hold any WWE events ever. At all. You can't tell people not to order Netflix or whatnot, but you can at least take away the ability for in-person, for them to come into the state. And what they do is a travesty. That's my thing. Is John Cena's heel run been memorable or not? I am not really buying it. I just think it's been a joke. I have not been happy with John Cena's run at all. And I'm just absolutely bored with it. And I just can't, I'm just not buying it anymore. I haven't bought it. It was obvious when he turned, there was too many loopholes with it. I think Cody Rhodes is going to get it back. Cody Rhodes will get the title back before the year is over with. Maybe Roman Reigns will get it back. But it's not going to be CM Punk. They're building up the CM Punk feud now, but I don't think it's going to be CM Punk. It'll happen where Cody or, will get it, or Roman Reigns will get it. But it's just been unmemorable. I just am not buying this run at all. This grumpy, it's just boring and stale, to be honest with you. And I'm not excited for it. I haven't been enjoying it at all. And I was hoping Randy Orton maybe, in his hometown would have won, but obviously that didn't happen. I'm just not buying into it at all. The Evolution 2 is going to happen with the women. I think it's good. There's a lot of depth on the roster now with the women, and I think it's going to be solid. With all these women from NXT, maybe some TNA. Since WWE has been working in conjunction with TNA. I'm looking forward to Evolution 2. I think it's going to be exciting, with Bayley and Liv and, and Stratton and all these ladies. I think it's just going to be exciting, and I'm really excited about seeing what the direction is going to be and what's going to happen going forward with it. I think it's a better product now than it has been in a while. And I'm excited to see what Evolution 2 is going to evolve into. And I'm happy for the women. I think I think the women are doing a really outstanding job. I'm really buying into what we're seeing, and looking forward to what will be the next stages with them. I've been kind of disappointed with Alexa Bliss's return. It just doesn't seem like they have much for her. She is showing some ring rust, that's for sure. She's great on the mic. It's just her ring rust has really been showing. Talk about the Wyatt Six. I don't like this Wyatt Six nonsense. I don't want her. I want her to go back to being the goddess. I like it when she was the god. I kind of, even if it was a cocky, arrogant goddess, but this is what I know. I'm a mom, but now I'm the MILF of the WWE. This is what I got. That's what I would want to see. I want to see the goddess, not all this, gothic type look. I'm just not really buying into it. So. Not really into that kind of stuff. I wish they would better utilize her, but it looks like they may be going the way of the Wyatt Six, and I'm not buying into it. I didn't buy it when the Wyatt Six came back. I know it's a tribute to Bray, but I'm not buying into it at all, and I'm not enjoying it at all in any way, shape, or form. And it's just something that's just not been intriguing me. I just think they could do better with her. She's got to get the ring rust out, and you got to get her involved in matches on a consistent basis. You need to get her going and more involved in wrestling because she was out for some time having the baby, and also we got to just get her in the ring, have her 10-minute, 15-minute match or so. I mean, no, she's in her 30s, but she's still 32. She's a young 32, so she hasn't, She's taken the bumps, but she hasn't taken the bumps per se. She's just been out. She needs to get that rust off, and I would like to see more of her. A lot of people clamoring for her to have a title run, but she's got to get the ring rust out, and I would like to see her have a title run. I would like to see her have a run before she hangs it up, whenever that may be. I mean, she could still wrestle another 5-7 more years. Who knows? But it's the question of the WWE going to keep her, or is she going to end up in AEW? Who knows? Who knows at this point? Anything is possible, but I would like to see a better. I'd like to see more out of her. I'd like to see her, just get away from what she's doing right now. But I am looking forward to Evolution too. I am looking forward to it. Becky again with the belt. Charlotte's still around, and Liv, Liv Morgan's really elevated herself over the last couple of years. You can't say you have not been impressed with Liv Morgan. I mean, Liv Morgan has been very, very impressive. Absolutely impressive. Got to be one of the most improved WWE superstars since she came aboard. Hands down. Got to be right up there. Top improvement. And her mic work, her in-ring work, the gimmick. From the Riot Squad to where she is now, hands down. Deservingly so. Hands down, by far. Can't knock that at all. So I'm looking forward to it. Roman Reigns, they said that they're not going to pay him the money on a part-timer. Look, I understand. From a business perspective, why should Roman Reigns get $15-20 million a year to only wrestle a handful of dates? Come on now. He's coming to the end of his career. That's one move I do agree with. I agree with the same way with Brock Lesnar. Why pay these guys millions and millions of dollars? They're only going to show up for a couple of... They're not really working. Come on. What, they earned it? No. That money can go... That money can go to keep talent on the roster. And, the Roman Empire, the WWE has spent a decade trying to build this guy up the way, they're cheering him, but, come on now, let's get real. He's not worth $15 million a year. They got to do something. If he can retire and walk away and he's got investments and acting opportunities and things, by all means, go for it. He'll have opportunities to do other things. He made his money. I'm sure he invested it wisely and take care of him and his family. I'm sure he's set. He was definitely one of the highest paid WWE superstars. So I don't doubt that. Look, it's not worth giving him $15 million a year. It's just not worth it. Are you surprised with a lot of the releases that happen? We're going to see more releases because the releases, are they coming from Triple H? You got Strowman out, R-Truth, but the fans clamored for R-Truth. They brought him back, but it looks like The Miz may be gone, and he removed all his WWE stuff. But The Miz, Mike Mazzani is going to be doing the American Gladiators. They're going to do the reboot. I think it's going to be on Prime Video or on Prime. I think that's where it's going to be. The American Gladiators that Mike Adamle did with the Gladiator. That version's coming back. I'm curious to see what it's going to look like. It might ain't hurting, but there really isn't much for him to do in the WWE anymore. He ran its course, so it's time for him to move on to do other things. Plus, he's been taking time away to take care of Maurice. Remember, Maurice has not been well. She's had some health issues. So I think this may just be a parting of the ways mutually for everybody involved, for both parties. So I'm not surprised with Mike, Strowman, and Dakota Sky. I feel bad for her, but she could still end up in NXT or TNA or what have you. You're trying to develop people. You're trying to find people that are going to make money. If you're not going to be drawing and not going to be making money, you're not going to be sticking around. And that's the direction they're going in, is that who is going to be around to make money? If you're not making money, you're not going to be around. So, and I just don't think they see some of these people that are not going to be utilized, and they do have people in the Performance Center, but, it doesn't matter. I mean, unless they're utilized properly and you're given proper storylines and proper things to do, you're not going to really know their full potential. That's why I always say they should hone their craft on the indie circuit and in Japan before making the leap to the WWE, because only certain amount of people are going to make it, and it's just the way it is. Goldberg's final retirement match is coming up. Are you looking forward to it? Please. Unsafe Goldberg. No, I'm not looking forward to it. The seeds could be planted all you want with Goldberg. I am not looking forward to it. I don't really care for it. He should have been done a long time ago. He has very painful matches to watch. I'm not looking forward to Goldberg at all, to seeing what Goldberg's going to do. I'm really not. It's not something that interests me. I think he should have been retired a long time ago. I do want to talk about the passing of Sabu. I mean, one of the greatest hardcore technicians of all time, maybe besides Terry Funk. He just had his retirement match, and then he passed away shortly thereafter. I don't think, I learned 40 years ago from Bill Apter, when I met Bill Apter in the Meadowlands Sports Exposition Authority, when I sat ringside for the cage match between George Steele and Danny Davis, and Bill and I talked all night, and I remember a lot of things we talked about. But one of the things that really stood out from that conversation to this day is the hard work that these men and women put in. These are trained professional athletes. The outcome may be already determined, but the physicality of their matches that they have to go through. That mat, that ring, they're solid 2x4s. It's not a trampoline. It's solid 2x4s underneath that mat. That's only with padding. The body slams, over the top ropes, the falls, the bumps. As safe as you want to be with your partner, accidents and things are going to happen. Sabu practically broke every bone in his body for this business. Practically broke every bone in his body for all these horrible matches that he had, these barbed wire matches. These are some sick, and it's 60 years old that he was. He's still going through barbed wire, going through tables. He went out the way he wanted to go out. And I would say, sadly, he literally died in the ring because he passed away shortly after. It is a very sad, somber time to be a wrestling fan growing up with guys like Sabu, Terry Funk, who passed away. These guys that gave it all, and they literally basically had to kill themselves to stay in the ring. They should have been out of the business a long time ago. But the money wasn't there for whatever reason. The money, the love of the sport, you can't. One thing I've learned, and over the years, even though I haven't spoken to Bill, is that the mind of a professional wrestler is you just can't just turn it off. You can't just say, I'm retired. It's not like baseball or football or hockey where you can't go back. Wrestling doesn't work like that. You can go out there. Flair wrestled in his 70s, nearly died in the ring. Sabu practically died in the ring. Terry Funk. The beatings, the physicality of this business is surreal. And they're left with nothing. I don't know what Sabu's financial situation was, but I will say that he couldn't just turn it off. Couldn't turn it off. He went back out there, whether it was for the money, the love of the business. What can you say? I will say it was very sad to see that he had passed, and very heartbreaking. It broke my heart because I remember from ECW. What can you say about one of the true hardcore performances, right up there with Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, and Terry Funk? Three of the greatest hardcore legends of all time, and only one of them is still with us out of the three, and that's Mick Foley. And very sad. So I think, Sabu, thank you. Sabu, thank you. Thank you, Sabu. Rest in peace. Well, rest well, because this is very heartbreaking. I'm sure he was cleared medically the whole 9 yards. I commissioned out of, but he passed after the match, a couple of weeks after the match. Very, very heartbreaking. And I think we all should just say thank you that Sabu will give us a lifetime of memories to go back and watch online and truly appreciate the sacrifices that he made on his body to the wrestling fans. Truly indeed. And I will try if I can do an exclusive Rough Cuts on Sabu. I think he deserves it. I did one on Terry Funk many years ago, but definitely we need to do one on Sabu. Absolutely. We need to do an exclusive Rough Cuts on Sabu. Darby Allin, I don't know if you all realize this, but Darby Allin successfully climbed Mount Everest. Yes, he did. He did it. You got to hand it to Darby Allin. I mean, when he gets back into AEW, he needs to get the person they need to stand up and cheer and say congratulations. You know what a feat that is? To climb Mount Everest. To climb Mount Everest. Do you know what an accomplishment that is? And he survived because people die every year. He had a crew. They went through the process. They got up and they came back. I mean, huge, huge shout out to Darby Allin for climbing that ladder, to climb Mount Everest. I mean, you understand the physical and the emotional, mental toll that takes to do something like that? I mean, you got to hand it to him. Wow. Big congratulations when he gets back. When the first time he gets in the ring, everybody needs to stand up and say congratulations or thank you, Darby. And they really need to let him hear it because he did something that no wrestler in the history of this business ever did. He is the first one to do it and likely will be the last one to do it. He may do it again, but he is definitely going to be the only wrestler in this lifetime to do what he did. Hands down, by far. Congratulations to Darby Allin. What do I think of what's going on with AEW? What I think? First of all, let me give a shout out to prayers to Jim Ross. He had cancer surgery. He's home wrestling well. Good old JR. JR keeps kicking out, you know. You got to hand it to him. He's kicking out left and right. No one wishes what has happened to him. I mean, the man has been through a lot in his lifetime, and this is just another setback, but he is kicking out and wishing him well, that he continues to recover. He's on the road to recovery. I read online that he is home resting. JR, continue to kick out. You're winning the battle. You're winning the battle. Cancer did not beat you. You are defeating it every day that you are here with us. Congratulations. Keep kicking out. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you. You know you're the best. You're going to be back in AEW doing what you love. Being on that mic, we're looking forward to it. It doesn't matter that he lost a step or two on the mic. It's JR. He earned the right to be there. He earned the right to be there. And I'm glad Tony Khan is supporting him and knowing that he has a job when he wants to come back and he's ready. He'll be back on the mic because you never know. That could be the last time we ever hear him on the mic, but we hope not. We hope he has many more pay-per-views coming up. Ric Flair was recently diagnosed with skin cancer for, I think, the third time or second time or something the last couple of years. Look, say what you want about Ric Flair, but one thing we should never do, even on this channel, and if I ever hear it, I will block you entirely. We don't wish anybody ill will with cancer. Regardless what you think of the person, cancer sucks, and we don't wish any harm to anyone with cancer. Ric Flair is not a murderer or anything like that, because if he was anything of pure evil, he'd be in prison. But regardless of what you believe or don't believe about Ric Flair, about the person, what have you, we don't wish what he has on anybody. We don't wish cancer on anybody. We don't want anybody to suffer with cancer. And we hope that we wish him a very speedy recovery and hope that the process and channels that he has to go through will give him the safest route to recovery. That's all we could really ask for. Yes, he's in his late 70s. He's lived a very hardcore life beyond, but we don't wish any ill will. We don't wish Ric Flair any ill will, and we shouldn't. Honestly, no reason to wish any ill will towards Ric Flair. He is trying to recover from cancer. A couple more things. We'll wrap it up at the 1 hour mark. I have to earn my $25, and I think $25 for 1 hour is definitely worth it, from Richard Wagner from PR Recruiting. So I hope you guys are enjoying. Hit the like, put the comments in, and then we'll get back to a normal 30-minute rough cuts if you help or if you actively help. What do you think? What's going on with the AEW stuff? My thoughts basically is AEW is really just a tough product right now with Moxley and Copeland and all these guys. It is a tough product to really. There are times I'm into it and there are times I'm not into it. It doesn't have to be all about blood and guts. I just don't really see the storylines or the proper build for these matches to take place. They do load up too many matches on a card and they drag it out too long. I really think something should be done with that. I know you're trying to get everybody on a pay-per-view, but maybe some things are just left to be on main television, like a Saturday night's main event or something, or Collision or Rampage, whatever you want to call it. But I think their shows are too long. I know the WWE does 2 nights. The WWE doing 2 nights is all just about making money. I really think it's all about money, honestly. But I just think that the pay-per-view should have a set number of matches, a set number of feuds, and a set time limit. And if everybody doesn't get on the show, well, that just gives you more encouragement to work harder to get on the show. Or put them on one of your secondary shows. I think the pay-per-views are the major pay-per-views. You should be rewarded for hard work. And I just think that something needs to be done about that. But the AEW shows like 4 or 5 hours long. It's just way too long. It's just sometimes it's just kind of painful to watch. It's just been somewhat painful to watch. So that's really my take on AEW, what they're doing. I know they got a major show coming up and all. Tony's doing what he can, but I think it's just he's going to have to do more. He's not going to be able to compete with the WWE, and you can't try to compete with the WWE. Look, he's brought in a lot of former WWE talent, and they're really not any better now than they was when they got started. Yeah, you have your blood and guts and certain things, but blood and guts doesn't always mean ratings. It creates intrigue and all, but the overall product to me just hasn't been any better than the WWE. To be honest with you, it just hasn't been any better overall, and I haven't been thoroughly impressed either. I think wrestling hit its peak, and right now we're on the valley on the way down a little bit. It's just been kind of stale, and I haven't really been excited. There have been some good matches here and there, but overall, I just haven't been impressed with the product itself. And I think that, translates for all the promotions, for TNA, WWE, and AEW. Just hasn't been anything really worthy. We have some good talent on the rosters, but I don't see the proper utilization. I don't see the overall where I could be in tune for 3 hours to want to watch. I don't like all this streaming stuff. You got Netflix, you got this, you got that. I'm not paying for Netflix. I don't pay for Netflix at all to watch. I'm not paying for all this stuff. I'm homeless, and I can't, do that. I have my ESPN Plus, and I'm not getting rid of my ESPN Plus, and then on my phone through T-Mobile, I get the MLB package for free. They offer, for T-Mobile customers, you get the MLB package for free. When I got my phone, and I'm a T-Mobile customer, they said you get the MLB package for free. So I don't even pay for the MLB. I only pay $13 a month for ESPN Plus. Well, how could you? I know, but I watch TV. I like to watch sports. You got baseball, different things. I can watch something on ESPN Plus. So there's something for me to watch on ESPN Plus. You get Pluto TV and Tubi TV, which I turn on my data services, and I can watch all the free TV I want. And there's some live events on there too. So, but I get to watch all my old shows. Three's Company, Lobo, Little House on the Prairie, Quincy, Kojak. I get the Honeymooners, Abbott and Costello. So I got enough to watch. And if I ever was to get a home or anything, football season, you can get NFL Plus on the NFL on NFL.com, and you could pay less than $10 a month up until the Super Bowl. And then after that, you can cancel it and restart it again on the phone and pay $10 a month. NFL Plus. And all the games, whether it's on Prime or Netflix, or you can go to NFL.com and download NFL Plus and pay less than $10 a month. No matter what platform the NFL is showing, you can watch NFL football. That's what I've been doing. So and it's worth it for less than $10 a month. That's worth it in that regard. I get MLB for free. So on my phone, and during hockey season, ESPN has all the hockey games on ESPN Plus except for the playoffs. So unless I can get into a hotel, I can't watch hockey, or ESPN Plus picks up the games. So I get to watch. I get my hockey fix, and that's something in that regards. So I get enough what I need, even though I'm homeless and I don't have much to really go by. I'm going to wrap this up here in a moment. I do want to give a shout out. I know he'll never see it, but Sam Rosen retired. Sam Rosen, the voice of the New York Rangers, only Stanley Cup in my lifetime and his lifetime, when they called it This moment will last a lifetime. There was a wonderful send-off for the entire season that they did for the Rangers. And sadly, I don't know if you realize, but Joe Micheletti, what a class act by Joe Micheletti. Joe Micheletti did not take away from the spotlight of Sam. He waited till after the season, and then he announced he was retiring. So the booth next year is going to have Kenny Albert take over, and then I don't know, they haven't made an additional person that's going to come in. But Sam Rosen, I grew up with Sam and JD. I had a chance to watch Sam and JD. I am so happy what TNT did. Say what you want about the coverage with TNT. You got Eddie Olczyk and Kenny Albert, you can't go wrong. But TNT was truly a class act. They gave Sam Rosen, I was, saying, come on, ESPN, but it was TNT that stepped up and gave Sam and JD one more night together to call a hockey game. And that was obviously the moment of a lifetime. That was obviously, say, JD's last game. And do it with Sam and JD. And then, Sam had Phil Esposito. Esposito was, is still working with the Lightning and could not get away. And then now Joe Micheletti. Just a total class. Congratulations to TNT, to Madison Square Garden, MSG, for allowing Sam and JD one more moment together. And, you grew up a hockey fan back in the late 70s going forward. You listened and heard Sam Rosen. Sam Rosen became the voice. Sam Rosen was what Vince Scully was to the Dodgers. If you grew up in L.A. and grew up a Dodger fan, you had Vince Scully on the microphone. If you were in Milwaukee listening to ball games, you had the late, great Bobby Uecker. You had icons. Each sport had their own icons. And for me in hockey, Sam Rosen, to watch and listen to a Ranger game coming up in the fall is going to be so painful because Sam is not going to be on it's nothing against Kenny Albert. It's just that it's not going to be the same without Sam and Joe, especially Sam Rosen. So Sam gave 40 years to the business, and we thank you. They should have, the one thing I was disappointed about that night, I got a chance to watch the ceremony, is they should have raised the banner. They should have raised a banner in honor of Sam. He deserves to have a banner with the microphone hung to the rafters. They should have done that. The Rangers didn't give him enough time on his Sam. It was his day. They should have raised the banner for him and given him a microphone, a really nice statue microphone for him. The Ranger organization should have done a bit more. All the road teams, when they went on the road for the last time, he got something very, very special from every visiting team. Why couldn't the Rangers do something for him and raise a banner in his honor? He deserved it. He gave 40 years to the Rangers, 40-plus years to the New York Ranger organization. Arguably, he is the Vince Scully of hockey. He is the Bob Uecker of hockey. One of the greatest hockey announcers of all time. Look, people are going to say, Doc Emmerich, Gary Thorne, the Eddie Olczyk. Yeah, there are some great hockey announcers around the world. But if you're a New Yorker, you're born in New York, and you grew up and you listen and watch the New York Rangers, Sam Rosen was in your living room on the radio or on TV for the past 40 years. And I just think Madison Square Garden could have done a little bit more. I'm going to wrap this up in a moment. I have not spoken to Bill Apter, so if anybody knows Bill Apter has not emailed me. Bill Apter has not spent a word to Rough Cuts in 18 months. I think Bill Apter has turned heel. Where are you, Bill Apter? Bill, if you're out there, I'm still willing to do a podcast with you. We can do a podcast by Zoom. We can do some stuff together, and we could really, we could really lay it all down. You know what I'm saying, my friend? But I will say this about Bill. I am heartbroken that I have not spoken to Bill by phone or by email in 18 months. I am very heartbroken. I think he turned heel, but at the end of the day, I will say this. Bill Apter gave me a chance back in 2003 under the late Bobby Ryder, under OneWrestling.com, to write articles, and we reconnected, for the first time in about 15 years or so. and he gave me a platform. He nicknamed me Rough Cuts. And from the articles, it then went to YouTube videos, and that were posted on his Sportskeeda webs, on his YouTube channel, which are still there. They're property of Bill Apter. I am forever grateful for that opportunity that he had provided for me. I am very happy that he gave me a chance to be able to discuss exclusively about the world of professional wrestling and provide a variety of topics and wrestling spotlights and matches and things. And that's what I need to get back to doing. I need to get back, talking about specific matches and things, but I've been out of the loop for a while. I want to cover a variety of topics, but really get back to doing exclusive stuff, wrestling stuff. So hopefully we'll get back there at some point, but it would have been nice to hear from Bill Apter again. Bill has my phone number. It hasn't changed. He has my email address. Bill, if you see this video, you had a chance to sit through it for an hour, or at least to this part of it. Thank you for creating and giving me a platform to talk about Rough Cuts through your channel, through your work, and through your vision. But I miss talking to you about wrestling. I miss the emails. I miss the conversations. I really miss it. I will always consider you a friend, and that will never, ever change. So with that being said, wherever you may be, Bill Apter, thank you. Love you. Always will. You'll always have a special place in my heart. No matter what the future holds, I will always keep you in my thoughts and prayers and wishes that you get your induction into the WWE Hall of Fame someday. But it's because of you that I was able to have to do something I love doing, which is talk about professional wrestling on a mainstream platform. With that being said, at the 1 hour and 6 minute mark, be safe, be well. May all your matches be a main event. Next time will come soon enough. Have a good one.